So in today's video, I'm gonna talk about what I've learned from joining the military and living on my own. It's been about a little over a year now, year and a half about that I left Hawaii to come out here in the mainland to join the military, join the army, serve my country, and basically become a man. Make something of my life. Um, for those of you guys that don't know, I am a active duty soldier right now. I am also an online fitness coach where I coach the guys on getting the best shape of their life and also developing the mindset to become the best version of themselves, and just chase after all their goals. But I want to talk about, just like what I've learned from leaving, my home, my parents' house, and living on my own now. And what I would wish, like what I wish somebody told me when I was younger, Like I'm 27 years old right now. And, in my early 20s, when I graduated high school, early 20s, college years, mid 20s even, like I always lived with my parents, right? Growing up in Hawaii is pretty expensive to live on your own, I'd say. The price of paradise is not cheap. And especially in Asian families, and my family's Asian, right? We tend to like to stick together, in a sense that if you can live with your parents, save money, that's what people we've been doing basically. And I didn't have like a high paying job, or out of college or anything, so I was with my parents, like I always had my whole life. And you know year after year, right? Like New Year's Eve will come around, and I'd see the fireworks, and people would celebrate the New Year's and stuff. And I had this like this feeling in my chest, in my heart, in my mind that I was wasting my fucking life, wasting my potential. I felt like when they say in your 20s you're like invincible or something, or you can do whatever you want, right? That is true. That is a special ass power, a special opportunity in your life that you're not gonna be able to replicate, when you're a lot older. Maybe you can do a little bit when you're 30, 40 and stuff, but like 20s, in your 20s, right? You are a young man, bro. You are a fucking young guy, and like you have all this energy. You can get 5 hours or less of sleep, build fucking muscle, build a business, get rich, smash a bunch of chicks, fail over and over again, and still get up and see the next day and keep going with that same amount of energy. Like, like I knew all this in my head, but like I was not living it though. I was still living like a high school kid in my mid 20s. Um, you know, and on my bus ride on my last bus ride to the airport, right, before I shipped out, I was looking at the streets, that we were driving by. I was looking, I saw the park, the pull-up bars that I used to train at, and it hit me, like kind of like what was so hard about, because I had a hard time deciding if I wanted to join the military or not. Nobody in my family has joined before. I'm gonna be the first one. And I know nobody out here. None of my friends are really in the military. It's totally different than what everybody's doing. But something told me that I needed to do it though. But anyways, I was on the bus ride here, right, to the airport, and I was looking around all my familiar surroundings and stuff, and I realized that the hardest thing about this decision was like, it wasn't exactly joining the military per se, like the nature of the job, or like, or living on my own or that kind of stuff. The hardest thing was closing closing one chapter of my life and opening a new chapter. That's really what it was, because I knew that once I stepped on that plane, my old life was basically like, we're done with that chapter and we're about to move on to the next. And change is fucking hard, right? For a lot of people, it was hard for me. I'm not saying I got all the answers right now, but like I know that change is hard. Whether you're trying to reach a fitness goal, you're trying to make more money, you're trying to support a family, you're trying to get your degree or do whatever it is. Change is hard, man. You know, like that our human body, our human mind just loves comfort, it loves predictable routines, it loves, homeostasis, you know um and change is scary. It takes a lot of, extra calories. It releases stress hormones, and you have to adapt, to the change. um and as I was driving to the air, as I was getting driven to the airport on that damn bus, I was looking around and realized, like, I in my heart still feel like I'm a young kid. I feel like I'm a young guy still, but I knew that, I'm gonna have to man up a little bit now, because I'm gonna be on my own. I'm gonna be, handling all my own shit. Mommy and daddy is not gonna come save my ass or figure shit out if, things get hairy. Um, and that is exactly kind of what I signed up for, at the end of the day. And yeah, I think it's just like it was a hard decision to make at the moment, but now, it's been a year and a half now in, and looking back, I'm very glad I did that. Every day right now is not like paradise or anything like that. It's fucking 0 degrees out here. I'd rather be back in Waikiki right now, back at home, chilling in 80 degrees weather, fucking just chilling, literally just chilling, eating whatever the fuck I wanted, everything like that, having all my freedom. But I know that in this stage of my life, in my 20s, I need to make use of this energy, of this limited opportunity I have to, set myself and my future family and my current family up for the best life possible, because like at the end of the day, it's a matter of sacrifice, right? I'm not saying you need to join the military or anything crazy like that. I'm saying that, whatever goes you want, in your future, you got to look 10 years ahead, right? Whatever goes you want, they're going to require sacrifice, okay? You're not gonna, if you just enjoy your 20s like a dumbass, like everybody else, just partying and wasting it, getting drunk, developing, shitty habits, never taking care of your health, never building your fitness, your nutrition habits down, your sleep habits, not investing in yourself, not taking a chance on your dreams, never asking out that girl, never talking to new people, always just playing it safe, always just playing it comfortable, always making bullshit ass excuses that, are just cope, for your lack of fucking lack of balls, that's what it was exactly for me, growing up, my parents, my mom always like preached, play it safe, fucking, don't do this, don't do that, be careful, be careful. She was a little overprotective, and, I understand why. As a mom, you always want the best for your kids, you always want to keep them safe and this and that. But that mindset is pretty detrimental for any man that's trying to become, anything great, though. You can't fucking win in life, you can't level up if you always play it safe. You have to take risk, all right? You have to take risk. You have to fail, all right? A lot. You have to fail multiple times, because that's how you learn, all right? That's how you get stronger. It's just like the gym, man. It's like when you're working out for the first time, you're lifting a weight that you haven't lifted before, heavy reps, like it's going to be tearing muscle fibers. You're breaking down what you currently are, and then you're going to recover for the next session, right? You're going to get stronger because of that stress, right? You're going to adapt. And it's the same thing with life, right? You have to go outside your comfort zone, go in a gym of life and exercise yourself, push yourself, okay? Um, I am kind of rambling here on this talk, I I just feel like, at the beginning of this year, like whatever state, I was just driving to the gym, and just listening to a song that that I used to listen to a few years ago. And music always brings back memories from, when I first discovered the song. And I just remember, what like my life was like a few years ago. I was working a bunch of part-time jobs, really not doing anything in my life. I was working out kind of, but like that was really all that was going on though. And you know, like is that it? That's what I asked myself. That's what I had running around. That question was in my head every night. I was like, is this it? 23, 24 years old, in my fucking prime. Usain Bolt was breaking world records probably at this age. People were like making millions. I see them online. Like people, like, you hear about these stories. The guys in their 20s or even younger. Doing all these crazy ass shit, and I'm here. Fucking living with my parents. a fucking comfy ass life, getting like fucking my sleep schedule's all fucked up, 12 a.m. to fucking like 8 like 5 a.m. to like fucking noon or some shit, and I wasn't doing anything with my life, nothing impressive, okay, and I went to bed every night, thinking like, all right, man, well, this is life, fuck that shit, that is not life, all right, that's the life you settle for. That's the life I settled for, and I wish I took action a lot sooner. So if you're in that position right now where you've been doing the same thing over and over, you haven't been in a different spot this year than you were last year, right? Ask yourself, in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now, what do you want your life to look like? All right. When you wake up in the morning, when you look in the mirror, your day to day, hour by hour, what kind of person do you want to be? All right. Ask yourself, what man do you want to be? Okay. What man do you want to respect? Okay. Because like that's what it is at the end of the day. It's about who you want to become. All right. Are you happy with the man you are right now? Ask yourself that question honestly. Are you happy with this motherfucker? All right. Or are you fucking, is he settling? Is he settling for something less than he knows he can do? All right. Is he making excuses? All right. Because things are a little hard. All right. Because, he didn't have everything handed to him. All right. Ask yourself these questions. You have to be blunt with yourself. You have to be truly honest and you have to take accountability. All right. I posted a video the other day, a reel that went kind of viral. And, it was about my experiences from joining the military from civilian life. And I was kind of shitting on the food, I was shitting on the DFAC, talking about how, it wasn't up to my standards and it was complete dog shit. And a lot of people, were hating on me. A lot of people were saying, I was being a bitch, I was being soft, a pussy, and like, in my head, I'm just like, bro, like these guys that are hating on me, right? Like they realize that 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 they hating on me is not gonna help them in their situation, right? Like in life, right? I used to be that guy. That's why I used to look at people who are doing better than me and hate on them too. Or in my head, I'll be like, I would say some bitch shit, like that guy got lucky or something. But this is what I've learned though, and I wish I opened my eyes a lot sooner to this revelation. It's that like you can look at somebody, right, and he may be luckier than you. He might have more privilege than you. He might, have more like better circumstances, better upbringing, better friends, more connected, more money, taller, better genetics, whatever the fuck, all the advantages in the world. All right. He's fucking doing better than you. All right. He had a head start. Boo-hoo, bro. If you want to fucking win, you need to fucking go. And like, who gives a fuck about these guys? Right? Is what he have gonna like fucking stop you from doing what you want, man? Like, you have to go after your shit. All right. If anything, learn from these guys. Learn from these guys who are ahead of you. There's always something you can learn from people. That's why instead of looking at everybody like, oh man, he has this, he got lucky. You gotta look at it like this guy. Oh man, he maybe what can I learn from this guy? What is he doing that I'm not doing? What kind of systems is he running? What kind of habits does he have that I could maybe add to my routine, my daily life? Right? That's how you level the fuck up, dude. Like, you can't just be hating on people because of your bitch ass, because you weren't handed everything like them, man. If you are not as lucky as another person, you need to work like twice as hard, maybe even 10 times as fucking hard, all right? All right, the making excuses is the last thing that you should be doing, okay? I make these videos for my past self and sometimes my current self because I sometimes find myself getting back into these old like mental negative loops, right? And I remind myself, "Hey, hold on, bitch! Like, we're not that lazy motherfucker no more, right? We are the best version of ourselves today. We're gonna fucking keep on grinding. We're gonna keep pushing it, and we're not gonna accept mediocrity, okay?" Because I look around, man, everybody's okay with fucking mediocrity. Everybody's okay with being average, all right? A lot of people get triggered when they hear me talk like this. I don't really talk like this in real life, to be honest, because it's too much for some people, It's too much for most people, to be honest, Most people don't want to hear that, that they fucking suck. Most people don't want to hear that, they're not giving it their all, that they could be doing more, Most people don't want to give up the comfortable shit. Most people don't want to stand out. Most people don't, want to get hated on because, to be themselves, to share their fucking opinion. Everybody like be sheep. Everybody like, fucking take shit and just, play it safe their whole life, all right? Guess what? Everyone's gonna fucking die at one point, Everyone's gonna die. No one's getting out of this shit alive, dude. Do you wanna die like with your potential inside of you? Or do you want to die giving it everything you've got so when you look back at your life, you fucking did everything, right? You went after every single dream, even if you didn't reach it. You went after it still, and there was no what ifs on the table. You left, you had a family, you left the best future for them, you provided the best you could, all right? And you just go all out, man. It's like a fucking Fortnite game, right? Do you want to die and for like, not with all your ammo still, or do you want to go out firing, Like, ask yourself that question.